Speedway has been criticised for many things over the years, often justified in some cases, it has to be said. However, one thing it does do very well is remember its heroes of the past. Tomorrow will mark the 40th anniversary of one of Speedway's darkest days, the untimely death of Australian legend Billy Sanders in 1985. And it's good to see his two former clubs will pay tribute to his memory at Vauxhall on Thursday. It's a timely reminder, even the top competitors in all sports are also human beings. Only in Speedway.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Speedway Tavern. It's great to be back.
Yep, certainly is. It all goes downhill from here. So.
Yes.
It's great to have me back in it.
Well, let's not go as far as that, please. We should also, while we're talking about Billy Sanders and the risks that these guys take, mention Ty Woffindham.
Absolutely, yep.
Horrendous, simple-looking crash initially, and then the speed that they all went into that fence was... and the injuries that he's since received, but it's really good to see that he's on the mend.
Walked out of hospital.
Yeah. Yep. That's the Ty Woffindham we all know. So get well soon, Ty.
Yeah, it's going to be a long old road for him, but you know he's obviously had very, very good care and support in Poland. Yep, absolutely.
There you go. Well, what's been happening in the news, guys? I've just seen Clive Woodier's put good news about the bees. What's the good news about the bees? Does anybody know?
No, we'll come on to that at some point later on. There has been obviously some comments made about the situation at Coventry.
I haven't heard anything
in the last week or so we will come on to that. What's been happening? Well, Ipswich, they extended their 100% start to the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership season with a 49-41 win last week at Leicester. It's their third victory on the road so far in 2025 and their fourth overall in addition to their Knockout Cup wins over Bellevue.
Are they going to go through the season unbeaten?
A few people have suggested that they might do.
Injuries dependent, of
Injuries
course.
dependent. I mean, we've said this about Ipswich before, but they certainly look the real deal at the moment. So I think, you know, you could possibly look at someone like Sheffield, maybe Bellevue could push them on their own tracks. Vauxhall's going to be totally different. I can't see anybody getting anywhere near them.
You mean Birmingham tomorrow's got no chances? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I mean, Birmingham, obviously, the scoreline was very close when they rode each other at Perry Bar.
It seemed to be a bit of a bogey team for them.
Albeit I don't think the track was brilliant.
No.
That was probably a little bit of a leveller.
Equaliser,
in all fairness. But no, Ipswich flying at the moment, and I think, you know, you looked at Ipswich's score on that night that they rode at Perry Bar, and you saw Jason Doyle and Emil Seifert-Off, neither of them got double figures, and you're thinking, well, how many did Birmingham win by? And I don't think I've ever been to a meeting where the two reserves have been in the nominated riders' race.
Yes,
it was.
I mean, they were very good.
They were
good
very
value
good,
for
yeah.
it.
And that's where Ipswich, I think, are going to be very, very fortunate, is that they've got, you know, they've often been sort of, the last couple of years, been looked at as a team that's got, you know, a lot of strength in the top with Emil and Jason Doyle, but maybe didn't have enough strength in depth. That certainly doesn't look to be the case this time. I think they've the cards have dropped really. I suppose the key signing for them is going to be Tom Brennan. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Although he wasn't that impressive at Perry Bar the other week.
No, he wasn't. But then you can't. You know, neither was Seifert-Off, and neither was Doyley, who made a few interesting errors.
Yep, absolutely. At the other end of the scale, Oxford have had a really, really flat start to the season, haven't they? Obviously, Leicester won their last night, so that effectively, you know, evened out their loss at home against Ipswich. But Oxford at the moment struggling. Birmingham obviously haven't picked up a win, although they had a very, very good performance at Leicester in the
Knockout Cup.
The Cup. Some people might say, well, Leicester maybe took the foot off the gas because they'd probably done the job in the first leg, but the riders at the end of the day still need points, but still need to be scoring points to make sure they get paid. So
what was interesting was the number of times that Zagar come from behind.
Yeah,
I thought that was hopefully a sign of things to come. But then I think we went to, was it Ipswich? No, we went somewhere and it got slaughtered. Sheffield, that was it.
So I think a few teams are going to be, but the Sheffield one, I think that was more a case really of Birmingham being in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was always going to be that was Sheffield's first match after the obviously Ty Wooffinen's accident. There was always going to be a very emotive occasion, and Birmingham just hit them at the wrong time. I think it would have been hard push for Birmingham to get close to Sheffield anyway. But
no, absolutely.
It was always.
Okay, so my glasses have stopped working. Okay, so I'll take those off. Simon Corbett says Sheffield have done some changes. Sedgman out, Kerr in.
Sedgman and Kerr in, yeah.
Sedgman and Kerr.
Daniel Hume is the one that's made way. Obviously, the 28-day ruling for Ty Wooffinden has now expired, so they needed to. I don't think that'll be the last of their changes, to be honest. I think they'll be looking. There's been rumours flying around about riders maybe coming back into at some point or other during the course of the season.
Is that going to weaken Sheffield?
Depends on who they bring in, doesn't it? The Daniel Hume's probably a little bit unfortunate, really, because
that's been his career. He was unfortunate
he seems
when he came back to Birmingham.
Yeah, always seems to get the rough end of the stick, doesn't he? Really? It's a shame, but ultimately, I think, suppose for Sheffield, they've got to put their own. That Sheffield are coming into the season with genuine title aspirations. Okay, everyone's making noises about. All the noise at the moment seems to be around about Ipswich, but Sheffield, I think they're saying certainly with Ty in the team, if he had been fit, I think they would have been, a team that would have been able to give them a run for the money, and they still could. I think it depends on who makes the moves, as and when.
So Chris Thorogood said we won't go the season unbeaten. Sheffield and Bellevue remain tough trips, and they are both good sides. If we get lucky with injuries, we really shouldn't be beaten at Foxhall.
I don't see anybody going to Foxhall and winning. Be very surprised. Maybe if they catch Ipswich on an off night, but I think they're going to have a really off night because, as I say, they look strong all the way through.
Yeah, they do.
So
best. Reserves in the league and best top two, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That says it all.
I think the secret of team building, I've said before, good number one and a good number 7.
And it's good to see Danny King showing some form after what was a...
Yeah, he's had a couple of tough years, hasn't he, Danny King? I think, he's sort of been asked to hold the position as the third heat leader, isn't he, behind Sarfoots and Doyle, and that's not really his level now, but I think he's in a level of part of the team now where he's going to be able to scored good points.
13 points the other night, I believe.
Yeah, I think this confidence thing as well, because if you're in a team that's flying, that's going to give everybody a lift, isn't it? So
it takes the pressure off you a little bit as well, doesn't it? What's been happening in the Championship?
Well, not a lot, of course. We've had a lot of rain-offs, unfortunately. I think the Easter weekend programme was
I can't
really
remember the last Easter Monday that Birmingham have actually run.
Absolutely there. But well, first of all, let's start off with Glasgow. Glasgow boss Cammy Brown singled out young reserve Max Perry for praise after his important contribution in the Tigers' 47-43 BSN Series win at Berwick last weekend. Brown said Max was sensational, and the 5-1 he scored in Heat 4 with Carl Howarth changed the course of the meeting. We were delighted for him because he has worked so hard during the winter, and the results are now coming for him. This is a big result for us, especially after the home defeat to Edinburgh. And meanwhile, Oxford's maximum man Sam Masters praised the impact of new signings Jonas Nugent and Mitch McDermott in the 48-41 comeback win at Plymouth. Masters said, "We've got a young team this season and everybody's digging deep. Everyone was trying 100% in every race and didn't let things get the better of them. That's the reason we won. It's not easy to come to Plymouth for the first time. We had a couple of guys in Jonas and Mitch who had never seen the place before, but they still had a good night. Mitch doesn't have the experience of British League at all yet, but he's a talented kid and he was getting stuck in. The future is bright for him." So, big win that was for Oxford. Plymouth, as Sam Masters said, it's not not an easy place to go. It's obviously a completely different track to a lot of other tracks in that league. It's obviously one of the smallest ones, so that was a great result for them. And obviously Glasgow, didn't have a great season last year after winning the league in 2023, so they'll be desperate to sort of make amends for that.
Jeff Daniels says the GPs at Bellevue are virtually sold out. Only 18 tickets left for Saturday, and is that 1,100? Left for Friday, which will probably be snapped up on the day. So much for all of the doubters about it being poorly attended.
I don't think it was ever going to be poorly attended. That one, ultimately, it's a much smaller capacity than Cardiff was.
I think that reflected in the ticket prices being a little bit higher as well. I think,
yeah,
because they haven't got so many tickets to sell. I think the proof of that one will be how it pans out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're always going to be worried about the weather. And I'm not just singling out Manchester for that. I think the whole country are always going to be worried about.
Yeah, well, there was always the insurance policy with Cardiff because of the roof, wasn't there?
Yeah, yeah. So the proof of the pudding will be next year, I think.
I think so, yeah. But yeah, certainly, if it's just on racing basis, Bellevue is a fantastic racetrack. It's obviously a better racetrack than Cardiff. I wouldn't dispute that. Cardiff, obviously, you've got all the things that go along around it. It's right in the middle of the city. You've got all the bars, restaurants, museums. It's people have said many times it's like a chance really for all Speedo fans to get together. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bellevue can match that, because it's not in the centre of Manchester. There's not really a lot to do in that area of Manchester. Obviously, you've got the buses that go back into the city and things like that. So, yeah, I wish them well. It's they're going to be under a fair amount of pressure to make sure that it succeeds. Obviously they've had a couple of big events there. They've had the Speedway Nations there. They've had that there twice, I think, in the last 3 years. They had the World Cup in 2016, I think. So. Yeah, there's been a few major events, but this is obviously a big deal for Bellevue to have two Grand Prix effectively, because they've got their own, and of course the one that was initially going to be in Cardiff.
Okay, so we'll turn our attention a little bit, then I think to the third tier.
Yep, of course. I've seen a couple of matches at Perry Bar in the third tier, of course.
Entertaining affairs.
Yeah, I think so. The opening meeting obviously was. I'm trying to remember. It was against Leicester, wasn't it? It was against Leicester. Yeah, it was against Leicester. A lot of interest in that meeting, of course, was going to be on William Carnes. Wasn't had one tremendous race where he came through from the back, but I don't think was particularly impressive in that meeting.
And he does know the track, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then obviously last week against Kings Lynn, I thought it was, obviously you were there, I thought it was a really entertaining meeting. I think Kings Lynn, you always felt Kings Lynn were going to have the edge. They had a very, very... I
have a bit of a gripe about that.
Strong reserve.
You just hit the nail on the head. If Kings Lynn come to Birmingham when Cooper Russian gets a proper average, he's probably going to end up at number one.
Yep.
They don't win that match, do they? Him having 7 rides, you don't get 7 rides at number one. You get maybe 5 if he rides well, which he probably would.
Yeah.
It was a close meeting all the way through. I mean, it was Cooper Russian that
won the meeting. I have to say, putting aside all the stuff about the averages, he really does look the real deal, doesn't he? Looks very quick,
absolutely.
Very, very stylish rider as well. I think I mentioned he reminded me a little bit of Adam Skornicki in terms of his riding style. So yeah, he looks like he's got a real talent for the future. But obviously, once he gets
only 15, of course.
Once he gets a full average, of course, he will be in the main body of the team.
It's always been the case, if you can get that spectacular rider that just clicks at reserve. But it does leave, for the team that gets beaten by the reserve, it is a little bit, they only beat us because he could have 7 rides, essentially.
Yeah.
So I do wonder whether they should look at giving, particularly in the third tier, giving riders that come in on a 3-point assessment because he's 15. Everybody knew it's not 3-point. Everybody knew that. Maybe they get their proper average based on less meetings to get their first average to make, because it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's what people think. But it does feel a little bit unfair on the team that has to come up against that while he's at reserve, and then later on in the season it's not an even playing field, is it? So anyway,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not bitter at all.
in terms of the Birmingham side, obviously, there's a lot of. I think Lawrence Rodgers has gone on record of saying that he's picked a team with that sort of got quite a few Birmingham links. Up the obvious one, obviously, is Darryl Richards. Of course, he's back as captain. I mean, obviously, that was the first time you've seen him on his comeback. I
was pleasantly surprised. If I'm honest,
it's been a few years, hasn't it? It's been about 4 or 5 years since he was last on a bike. So, or
he's carried on with grass track and stuff, I believe.
Yeah, so it's a big thing for him. Sam McGurk's obviously been around the block a fair bit. Aaron Butcher, of course, had made a few appearances for Birmingham when they were in the National League. Obviously, Senna Summers, of course, his father rode for Birmingham. It's hard to believe that Aaron Summers has got a son who's ridden for Birmingham, because it doesn't seem that long ago since Aaron Summers was riding himself. So, I think there's some good talent in that Birmingham Bull side. I think there was the two crowds so far for the two Bulls matches have been okay. I think. I still think there's always been this little bit of a perception with the National League that it's just riders who just wobble around and fall off.
That's certainly not that.
No,
not that.
There's some talented riders. I mean, the obvious one is Will Cairns, who looks an absolutely,
and Cooper Rushton as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I read last week, this is from Jeff Daniels, that the Dogs are moving from Perry Bar in the autumn. Doesn't look good for the Brummies for the next season. Hope something can be sorted. I mean, this is old news, isn't it?
Yeah, we've known this for a
while
Isn't
now.
it the same news every year as well?
Well, no, we've known that this is happening in the autumn. That we knew that. I hope something can be sorted as well. The fact I'm trying to make up my mind that the fact that there's no news coming out about next year, whether that's good or whether that's bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't blame Nigel Tully for the commitment he's made this year. You can't fault him. I don't know. We will find out. Obviously, I hope something can be sorted. I just don't, at this point, have any idea what it could be.
Yeah, it needs something. It does need to be sorted out, really, doesn't it? Because we are potentially in a position where from 2026 there'll be no speedway in the Midlands, which would be unthinkable. A hotbed of speedway, and there's no.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do this, but it doesn't look good for speedway.
No.
It's nails in coffins all the time.
Yeah.
You worry about there's other teams out there that are facing trouble.
Yeah.
Not just Birmingham.
South East, another area that was once a speedway hotbed. Nothing there now.
Nothing.
So would you say the Midlands was a hotbed?
Yes.
And which era would you put that?
70s,
80s,
yeah. You got Birmingham, Cradley, Coventry, Stoke. I'm trying to think of some more. Wolverhampton,
yeah. Sorry, I think that was deliberate, wasn't it?
I think I've got a feeling it might have been. Yeah. So
Crewe, I suppose, is sort of
Crewe
in the area,
pushing it a bit. I think Long-Eaton, of course, you could probably say more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Northampton,
Tamworth once upon a time.
Tamworth, yeah, of course, yeah. Tamworth Tigers was it?
Tammy's, wasn't it?
Tammy's, yeah. So, yeah, but you could probably go around most areas and say, and there was this, and there was this, and there was this, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to do all the doom and gloom today. We're like that.
Not on the first show.
Yeah, not on the first show.
No, wait to the second one.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a reminisce about. Well, reminisce for me. I mean, I never saw Billy Sanders ride. Obviously, you would have seen.
I saw
him
Billy
ride. Obviously, especially when he had that one. Was it half a season?
It was about half a season.
79, was it?
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah, it would have been about that time. We was obviously in the top league, so at that point, he didn't do great for us. Is the truth of it. I don't think he wanted to be there. I think he wanted to be at Ipswich, and he moved back to Ipswich, and all of a sudden, chucking in the double scores again.
Yeah.
But
unquestionably a top rider though on his day.
he should have been a world champion. You know, he was that good.
I think he was second a couple of. I think he was third the year that Michael Lee won it, which would be in 1980. I think he was second behind Muller in '83. I think something around those lines. But yeah, I mean, obviously,
Very, very stylish rider. He looked so a bit like I forgot his name, Lee Adams.
Yes,
yeah, a bit like Lee Adams.
Yeah,
that sort of style and sort of comfort on the bike, you know.
As I say, there will be a tribute to him, which is good on Thursday. Of course, ironically, it is against Birmingham. So there will be a special second half. Top four scorers from each team on Thursday will compete in the 3-race Champion of the Evening event sponsored by True 7 Group. There'll also be a Billy Sanders memorabilia on display on the terraces courtesy of Nigel Gravitas, which includes Billy's 1979 World Final Westlake when he finished 5th, and the Samaritans will also be in attendance in the evening at Vauxhall. And that's another important thing as well, of course, the circumstances in which Billy Sanders lost his life. To all intents and purposes, was flying at the start of 1985, was barely dropping a point, and then all of a sudden... Yeah. And I think, as I said at the start, there's a lot of things that have been said in recent seasons about, you know, and there's sort of a stigma that men don't like to talk about mental health problems, and I think that was obviously one thing that was the case with Billy.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it's something that's become highlighted for all sorts of reasons recently. But yeah, talk about it
more and more.
Yeah, so any Ipswich fans that are listening tonight and Birmingham fans as well, if you've got any memories of Billy Sanders,
that would be nice.
please pop them up.
Lawrence Rogers says, not sure who Matt is thinking about, but Sam McGurk is only 19. Darrell out of Speedway for 8 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sam McGurk seems to have been around for quite a while, doesn't he? It's hard to believe he's only 19. So obviously him and his brother as well. So
Jeff Daniels, I remember Billy Sanders riding for Ipswich at Hyde Road. Always rode very well there, and a great rider to watch. Simon Corbett, Brum team, so far your thoughts on riders' performances? God, does he want us to go through them? I think you could say...
I think the biggest disappointment so far is going to be Michael Jepsen Jensen. Although there were signs, obviously, against Ipswich towards the end of the meeting that he was getting it together.
He's getting it together, and he did a bit of practice after the meeting as well, which was nice to say. The highlight has been Keenan Rue, hasn't it?
He's been superb, hasn't he?
Yeah, you've got to say he's looked at the full 9 yards.
Tobias Jepsen's looked pretty handy as well, I think, as well. So
yes,
yeah,
with a few caveats, I think. I mean, obviously he's learning tracks and stuff, isn't he? So that's, you have to remember that. Matty Zagar's been hot and cold.
I thought he would be, to be honest. He's it's been a few years, obviously been a couple of years since he was last racing over here. He's always been one of these riders that I think when he's in the mood, he can beat the best there is, but it's getting him in the right mood sometimes, I think so.
And I think you could sum up all of them with one phrase, really. The phrase I used to get told me time and time again when I was at school. Could do better.
Could do better, yeah. That was always mine. That was, could do better.
Well, I thought that was CB, wouldn't
it? Rich Thomas says Zager and MJJ 10 years past their best.
Yeah, I would agree with Simon there. Tobias Muselek's been a big disappointment so far as well. I think, a couple of years ago he looked a really, really exciting rider.
He has shown some promising bits and pieces. I mean, you just, as a Birmingham fan, you have to hold on to what you can get and say, well, that was quite good.
I mean, on paper, it's a good side that Birmingham have got.
I think they've not all... I mean, this is such a Speedway cliche. They have not all clicked at the same time. There's been a click here and a click there. And if they do click, it's going to be like tap dancing. They do all click at the same time. Thank you for the demonstration
Okay.
there.
A sound effect. Cheap.
Somebody
just
might
like
take a
me.
beating.
Yeah.
Ooh, ow!
And you've got to, but you've got to say, haven't you? Really, realistically, at this point, the way things looking, and by the way, I don't think that's what the team's going to look like at the end of the season. But that's another story. It's between us and Oxford for that bottom place for the wooden spoon, don't you think?
I think so.
Not again.
Yeah. Oxford have looked very poor so far, haven't they? But they look weak on paper, I think. I'm not so sure about Kings Lynn either, to be honest. I think they're obviously doing all right while
That
Bombers
surprised me, actually.
while Bombers at reserve. I think they'll make the most of that. But
Yeah, but even once he gets out of reserve, who then gets into reserve? I mean, it's not going to be a fool, is it?
I think Rich Thomas's reply is probably the reply.
They don't ride on paper.
yeah.
As you seen that track lately. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
I think that's a Brian Clough.
Lawrence will be after you. So.
Yes, he will. Ben says, love the live podcast. It's like sitting down at the pub with old pals. That's why we call it the Speedway Tavern. That's exactly the vibe we're after. So
Because
thank you for
Mike
that.
never gets his hand in his pocket and buys a beer. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. Any truth in the rumour that MJJ is leaving when Swedish season starts?
We heard this rumour a few months ago, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah. Nothing's been.
And nothing. There's been no response to it, so I can't. I would love to. I'd love to know. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Brian Reeson, I have a feeling Birmingham will be lucky to score 25 points at Vauxhall on Thursday, as Ipswich are so powerful at home.
Yeah.
I hope we score a bit more than that, but I think Keenan Roo's quite good round Ipswich, isn't he?
Might have a point to prove, I think, Keenan Rowe.
So
Might have a point to prove.
he might score 25 points by himself. He can't, of course. I do understand that. Don't worry. Oxford problem the top end of the team.
Yeah, they look
They have the
certainly
same.
the top end of the team. They look very weak, don't they? There's I've heard whispers about potential signings in the pipeline, but I suppose the proof will be in the what happens over the next few weeks, particularly when averages start changing and people can then start to sort of navigate around the points limits.
I actually have a question for Lawrence while he's there. If he can, he might not be able to answer this, of course, because we don't know what's happening. But will Matty Zagar be riding at Ipswich tomorrow, or is his visa problems still ongoing?
He's got a bad leg, hasn't he, Lawrence? Has he got a problem? So he won't be able to talk, will he?
He's got a bad leg, so he won't be able to talk. Birmingham City fan. Rue is very good round Vauxhall. Mueslik has been good there in the past, so might be closer than you think. Well, I'd hope so.
Birmingham are going to need a few of their odds to turn up, aren't they? They can't just go in there. I mean, they did, as I said, they did really well at Leicester in the cup matchup, albeit it was a bit of a dead rubber because Leicester had dominated the first leg. That was probably the worst meeting that Birmingham could have started with, because Leicester's record at Perry Bar is exceptional, isn't it? And they've got riders who always ride Birmingham very well.
So, yeah, I'm just reading Craig's Smee's post, and I'm a little bit annoyed with, and not necessarily at Craig, but with some of the comments that I've been reading about. I think Birmingham have been very, very open and honest about what's happened with the visa,
Yeah.
and people seem to be saying that Birmingham have done it on purpose, or they're trying it on, or something. That does not strike me as true in this case at all.
Lawrence has answered your question, by the way. So
Thursday, not tomorrow. Oh God, it's Tuesday today, isn't it? Yeah.
I keep thinking it's
Yeah.
Monday today because it's
Yeah. We're
I'm
hoping
getting
the
confused,
visa will
Stephen.
finally come through from the UK visa, blah, 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 dot, dot, dot. Damn Brexit. Yep.
I thought that word was banned on this show. So.
What,
Yeah.
Brexit? or damn. Or visa. There's so many.
I have got
Can Rue ride after being declared to being declared to ride on Monday, won't he get
wasn't
a
going to
7-day
ride.
ban?
He wasn't going to ride Monday, was
Monday
he?
was it? Well, but I don't know how that works because
Yeah.
he hasn't missed a meeting technically,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Ben Cresswell's inviting us to Foxhall for one
Yeah.
night.
I just replied, yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah, it's a decent old way though over there.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's okay. He said I'm sure he said somebody's going to set up hotels somewhere for us. And, yeah.
They'd need
Or a
to.
tent in the car park.
I do like
I
sell
actually
cheese as well, by
haven't
the way.
been to Ipswich.
I've not been to
I've
Ipswich.
never been to Foxhall.
Ipswich and Kingsland are the only two tracks in the top league I've not been to yet.
Okay, I've been to King's Lynn, but I haven't been to Ipswich.
Yes, Rue Can didn't miss a meeting with food poisoning, so eligible.
He's eligible.
Just watch what he eats now, Laurie.
Yes, yes.
Well, we mentioned earlier, of course, obviously the positive news on Coventry. So let's
go
now
through
look
that.
at that. So
I've
the
missed
next
this one.
phase in the fight to restore Speedway and stock car racing to the world famous Brandon Stadium comes with the consultation process for the new rugby local plan. We made representations on the previous local plan process, and aided by a tremendous response from the public, we have secured greater protection for the stadium. The new local plan, however, seeks to go further, and we are delighted with the proposed wording of policy W1B, which is unequivocal in its support for the stadium in its established use as a motorsports venue. The proposed policy reads, the Council supports the restoration of Coventry Stadium Brandon for Speedway and stock car racing and other motorsports together with other community uses. Planning permission will not be granted for development processes which would conflict with these objectives. The consultation period runs until May the 19th, and we are asking all Speedway and stock car supporters plus local residents who also want the site to remain as a motorsports venue to please send an email or letter of support to the Council. Your response does not need to be lengthy, but we'd ask that you state your support for the Council's designation of Brandon as a significant motorsports venue in the emerging local plan, and to possibly add some brief explanation as to why the stadium is important to you personally. The previous local plan consultation resulted in one of the largest responses in Rugby Council history with specific regard to Brandon, and it is absolutely crucial that we now look to match or exceed that response. We cannot stress enough that this is a critical moment in the campaign, and every single response is really important. Emails should be sent to localplan@rugby.gov.uk. We will put that in the chat, I think, with preferred option consultation in the subject line, or responses can be sent by post to preferred option consultation, development strategy team, Town Hall, Everex Way, Rugby, CV21 2RR. Whichever option you choose must include your name and address. As I say, the deadline for that is May the 19th. So hopefully a significant step forward for the bees, and they've also confirmed now it's an appropriate time that they are working with a consortium of committed individuals, which includes Mr. Warren Hunter, who, of course, as was told us by Jeff Davis when he was on the show 3 years ago, did submit a formal offer to buy Brandon Stadium from the current owners in 2020. All of these, which include Mr. Hunter, are credible businessmen who possess the financial and technical and operational capabilities to firstly secure and clear up the site, which remains subject to appalling security breaches engineered by the owners in a timely manner, and then to restore the site for racing. So that is that's the latest news then on the fight to get Speedway back into Brandon.
It's good. That's good news.
That
Yep.
sounds
positive, doesn't
really
it? Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
So
Obviously I've got Jeff Davis's number, so I might have another go to see if we can.
yes,
Of course, he came on the show about 3 or 4 years ago, and obviously was spoke very, very well.
3 or 4 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Darren Reynolds says, great to see you chaps. The best show from my favourite Midlanders since tis was. I'm not sure how to say that.
Question from somebody. I can't quite see his name because you've chopped the top of the... There you go. John Budd. Question, how does Luke Kaleen ride as rising star for Oxford in Premiership when he's Australian and the rule was brought in for young English riders only? I imagine he's got English parents or grandparents.
That's what I would assume.
something.
Yeah.
I would. It's Killeen has a British passport, says Chris Thorogood.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Craig Smee said, I read the announcement from Rugby Council as a deja vu moment. Didn't we have the same process for Peterborough and then they rubber stamped the development for the showground? I really hope I'm wrong and hope Rugby Council stand by these words. Seems we are going round in circles and repeating the same process on several occasions. I must have wrote 3 different letters to Rugby Council in support now as well. I think the difference is that they have been consistent.
They've been consistent all the way through, yes. I mean,
council.
obviously, you always felt with Peterborough that there was always an underlying agenda that they didn't really want to keep it for Speedway and that they were going to go for, the potential to build houses on it. I sense Coventry is slightly different. The only thing I would say with Coventry, I've said this many times, stopping Brandon Estates building on it is probably going to be the easy thing. It's getting the site back off them because they've shown no inclination that they're willing to listen to offers for it. Mm-hmm. It looks, to me, it looks to all intents and purposes like they're quite happy to sit on it. And obviously, the thing is, as they sit on it, and the longer the land lays disused, the value will rise. So, I still think there's it's going to be a long slog before there's an outcome where either satisfactory or unsatisfactory on Brandon. But as long as the site is still there, the stadium's still there. It's obviously not in the best of condition. It's in a shocking condition now. But as long as it's still there, then there's still a glimmer of hope for Coventry. There's an argument as well that maybe Coventry could have maybe focused more on looking at other sites rather than just putting all their eggs into the Brandon basket. Although I'm fairly certain they've already gone down the route of looking for other sites, and there's simply nothing really that's been suitable for them to get back into.
Use, yeah. I still think it's a positive, and I'd rather go with positive today than negative. Can you put the shout box a little bit further up, because there was something there that I wanted to address, and again I will come back to that remark. Go up again. Okay, so I just want to put this out because not everybody gets the shout box, and this is some of the stuff that we got coming up. So Craig Smee said, why has everyone else not had issues with visas but Zagar is the only one? It's a valid question, I feel, and that's why Brummie's getting a bit of stick about it. Was Zagar a late declaration in the team compared to other teams maybe? Now, I think this has actually already been explained in the press thing that they gave out, but the remarks, but Lawrence has answered it, so I'll read that back over as well. His paperwork was completed later than the others, but was submitted in enough time, but is in the UK system awaiting issue. The young Aussie at Oxford had his delayed, but now he has it, so he's not the only one. Well, thanks for the reply, Lawrence. I think that's sort of does it.
Okay, I have just put the email for the if you want to send your emails to Rugby Council.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, I think maybe we should veer away from the political comments.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to talk about that. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Let's not go there.
Life is far too short. Okay, so we caught up on the shout box, but of course you haven't checked YouTube because you never do.
Oh, I am. The last comment was from YouTube. So
okay. I stand corrected. My correct is standing.
Well, we've got 20 minutes to go, so I think we ought to have a look at the prediction league.
Oh God, am I even in the prediction league?
No. So do you want this one first? One I've put on there.
Should we put the results on from last week first and then put the table on? Or
there we go.
Doing it slightly differently this year. I'm doing 2 separate tables, one with the results and one with the overall scores.
That's much better. So we've got the tables up.
Okay, you just want to confuse me, don't you? You know, I can't do multitasking.
Who's that at the top there? It's my book.
It is indeed.
We're not.
Who's
We're not
that?
on it.
We're not in now.
No, we're not.
You haven't played yet, that's why. So.
No,
So
no.
what I'm hearing is that you're not in front of me.
No,
Okay,
no,
that's-
no.
You were both left at the tapes, unfortunately.
I
So.
probably
Oh,
will be
we'll-
after
we'll-
1 minute.
We will join in from now.
Still very, very tight though at the top, albeit only a very early day. So
It's
Yeah, I mean, if I'd been playing, obviously I'd be. I've sat
course,
down and worked out, and I would definitely have been at the top. So just
Yeah.
so that.
that's if the table was upside down. You mean?
so. And this bit,
The old
then,
ones are the best.
what's this bit then?
So these are the results, and that's the overall scores for the week. So
Okay, let's put it in studio mode so we can almost see it.
okay, so not many scores this week because obviously we had quite a few meetings
Rained off.
rained off.
Yeah.
So
Surely.
So are we
Showers
gonna
in
are we
April,
gonna
surely not.
are we gonna play and try and catch up? Or?
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
I'm just going to try and beat you. That's
Fair enough.
Mr. Buck's already run away. So
might have a caboose when I don't play just to give you a chance. I think. So.
I don't believe that for a second. But
No, I don't think I will actually. So.
Yeah. There you go.
Right, so let's start off with tomorrow's meeting first of all in the BSN Series Southern Section, Poole against Plymouth.
Well, you have to start because you're at the top.
Remind me not to wear this t-shirt next week. Look.
Don't wear that t-shirt next week.
Yeah, I noticed it looks
yeah.
looks like you're in X-ray, doesn't it? So,
Right. Okay.
yep. So, what did I go for this one? I went for Poole by 22 on this one.
22.
Yeah.
That's an unusual one. Okay.
Okay. I'll go Poole by 12.
Okay, I'm going to say Poole by 20.
Okay. Next up on Thursday, Premiership night, Ipswich against Birmingham.
Chris?
Ipswich by 12 again. Yeah, 12. Is that good?
Ipswich by 26.
Damn.
I went for Ipswich by 24 on this one.
Oh my God, I'm normally the one that's predicting Birmingham to do the best out of all of us. And I'm sorry,
God,
Lawrence.
If your confidence was low last season, it's...
Yeah, well, I'm hoping. It's just that it's more a comment on the fact that Ipswich is so strong than anything else. To be
Yeah, of
honest.
course it is, yeah.
Okay, next up, also in the Premiership, Sheffield against Oxford.
And it's
It's
Mike.
me, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Sheffield by 20.
Some high scores here. Isn't it?
Yeah.
We should talk about that because that's been a feature of the Premiership
That's
recently.
been a bit, yeah.
That's good.
Let's
hear
go,
that.
go.
I'm going to go Sheffield by 32,
Wow.
just to keep the trend.
I'll go Sheffield by 24.
Okay. Next up on Friday in the BSN, Northern Section, Redcar against Scunthorpe.
And it's up to Matt.
It is, yeah.
Redcar by 6.
Oh, that's brought it down a bit, hasn't it?
Championship, though.
Red car by 10.
A red car by 12.
Okay, also in the BSN series on Friday, Edinburgh against Glasgow.
Wow.
That's up to me,
Careful.
isn't it? Okay.
Careful.
Which one of them are you going to upset this week?
So, who are the fans that mostly listen to us? I'm going to go Glasgow
Good call.
by 6.
Good call. However, Edinburgh by 6.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
Glasgow by 4.
Okay.
Okay, then on Saturday, also in the BSN series, Berwick against Edinburgh.
And that's up to me, isn't it?
No, it's up to me.
Up to you. Good.
Berwick by 4.
It's a tricky one to call, that wasn't, isn't it? Berwick by 6, I'll go for.
I'm going to go Edinburgh by 4.
Just because you didn't choose Edinburgh before, then you want to get
We've got to make friends either way, you know what I mean?
Okie dokie. Okay, next one is Plymouth against Poole. That's on Saturday as well. That's in the southern section of the BSN.
That's for you.
Poole by 12.
Poole by... Poole? All
Plural.
by 16.
Plymouth by 2.
Going for the shocks.
Okay.
Going for the shocks.
Then on Sunday we go into the NDL, Oxford against Middlesbrough.
Is that up to me?
Yeah.
Oxford by 4.
Oxford by 10.
Oxford by 6. I'll go for. Okay, then Monday we're back into the Premiership, Birmingham against Leicester.
Why do I get this one? Birmingham have got a point to prove against this team, haven't they, after what happened last time?
And the time before.
And
the time before
and the
that.
time
before
the time before that.
I'm probably going to regret this. I'm going to say Birmingham by 4.
Yes, you are. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to go for Leicester by 10 on that one.
I'll go for Leicester
Which would be an improvement, to be fair.
Yeah.
Leicester by 12.
Okay, and finally, Kings Lynn against Oxford in the Premiership.
That's for you, Matt.
Kings Lynn by 12.
Kings Lynn by 6.
Kings Lynn by 12. Craig Smith's gone for Birmingham by 4.
He's on drugs.
I'm liking that.
Okay. Well, a few people have mentioned it, so we will just give an update on the situation at Sheffield. Sheffield have made a double signing in order to return to a 7-rider team following the serious injury sustained by Ty Woofington last month. Woofington is out of hospital and making remarkable progress, but he still faces a lengthy rehabilitation period as the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership season goes on. The Tigers have moved to bring in Justin Sedgman and Lewis Kerr, both of whom had previous spells at Owlerton, with Daniel Hume the unlucky rider to make way. Manager Simon Stead said, "We have had to change the dynamic of our lineup, but I still think we found a sensible solution and formed a new look to our team that leaves us in a really strong position to challenge again this year." Both Justin and Louis are really excited. They're extremely keen to be back in the top division and to be back with Sheffield, where they'll both feel they've got unfinished business and where they've already got such a good rapport with the people around the club. We'd like to place on record our thanks to Daniel, who is simply the unfortunate victim of the position and situation that we found ourselves in. Yeah, so as we've said before, Daniel Hume's often been a bit of a fall guy, isn't he, for things like that.
I've got nothing but admiration for Daniel Hume.
Yeah, obviously we both know Daniel from when he, nice fella as well, really really nice fella. Was very popular when he had that spell at Birmingham in the National League era. Probably a rider as well. I think Birmingham fans would love to see back at Perry Bar at some point as well in the future.
I'm wondering whether that might be this year.
Yeah,
or somebody else will. He'll get signed up, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I don't think he'll be.
He won't be unemployed for long.
Yeah.
Craig Smee says, "I don't think Birmingham are a bad team. They've been unlucky with some results. I feel. I think they'll be good at home." I mean, this is the problem that I had with the team right from the start. It don't feel like a team at the moment. It feels like a band of mercenaries riding for Birmingham because they don't. There's nobody there that's really got a connection with Birmingham because all brand new riders.
Yeah.
And while I understand why that happened, given what happened last year, and given the fact that we didn't keep Tom Brennan, which is probably the rider that we all wanted to keep.
Yeah. Well, Tom Brennan and Freddie Lindgren.
Yeah. I don't think Freddie Lindgren was ever.
I don't think there was ever an option to keep
was ever
Freddie
going
back,
to
to
be.
be fair.
Yeah.
So.
It just feels so they haven't gelled at home because they haven't got a home track. I think the track itself hasn't helped. I'm not blaming anybody for that.
Yeah.
It's been the weather and the situation. I'm hoping the rain we've had over the next few days will help. There's definitely enough dirt on that track, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just not in any sort of usable form at the moment. because it's just impacted so hard with all the weather that they've had. You know, we've had hardly any rain since December.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, but we've had a bit over the past
Easter,
day.
yep,
Yeah,
so.
so hopefully that will get in there and help out with that.
As Craig to me said that, I mean, not, you know, pivotal really is the home form. Birmingham's need to have a good period of results at home because you know, I mean, it's an obvious statement, but the majority of supporters see Birmingham more at home.
Yes.
And if you're going to watch your team and they're losing every week at home, it's not good. You know, a good thing. I think there was a lot of anticipation for the season going into that Leicester meeting, and that was, as I said, I think that was probably they were probably the worst team Birmingham could have faced in the first meeting.
Yes,
Leicester, as I say,
and then
Leicester have got a rider, predominantly a lot of riders who've ridden in Australia, so they've obviously got they've done a lot of racing, obviously over the course of the winter, so they're still, you know, warmed up really from
and then
that.
probably the second worst team you could meet was Ipswich.
Yeah, and as I say, I think the track conditions probably played a part in that and levelled that meeting out a little bit, to be honest. But you know, certainly was it was an instant-packed meeting. I'm not saying it was a dull meeting. I've got to say, it was Jason Dahl was a lucky boy when he had that. I mean, it was nothing Zygar did, to be fair. I think he just hit the wrong part of the track. You know, I actually. He stopped pretty quickly as well afterwards, didn't he? But
he did,
you know, obviously he went out and won his next race, so I think there was he's notoriously rather grumpy, isn't he, Jason Dahl? So I think he would have been quite angry about that, and obviously he took his frustration out by winning.
Sorry, Jason.
His last 8. So,
but also you got to look at what I was talking about before about the riders not having time and time again. You're getting riders turning up at Birmingham that have had more time at Birmingham than our riders have had.
Yeah.
And I think that shows.
On a track where there's never really been a home track advantage, is there?
Craig Smee said, I think Sheffield the team is weakened with the 2 changes. I think it was always going to be. I think a like-for-like replacement for Ty would have been ideal, but at this stage of the season we're at now, it's difficult and probably not a large pool of riders unattached to pick from. I can't think of anybody that would take his place, really. That would be like-for-like Freddie Lindgren, maybe, but he's not riding over here.
Certainly not at the moment. I don't, I mean, I think if Freddie does come back to the UK, it'll be similar situation.
Thanks for the reminder from Phil. Yes, your ride of the week, gents. Give it me now of the riders you've seen.
I haven't seen too many Speedo this week, in all fairness, so I can't really.
Well, you can only go with what you've seen, so or what you've heard about. You're not going to go with anybody.
I suppose whether you could class it as this week, but I'll probably say Conor Russian.
I thought you might say that. I'm actually going to go Ty Woffenden.
So we've gone Connor.
Yeah. It's maybe controversial, but just the fact that he's recovered so well and so quick, I'm going to give him my rider of the week.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to?
Yeah. Give us your 2 penneth. Stick in your rider of the week. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Yeah, so unfortunately we haven't seen a lot of Speedo so far in the last week, have we? Really? So it's
not really
because of the rain. So
I mean, Cooper Russian was. Yeah, he did get foxed a little bit by Darryl Richins.
Yeah.
He did take him off, by the way. It happened right in front of me. Took his leg away. But I do think Darryl was perhaps using his experience to put himself in the right place at the right time. I think so. Chris Thorogood says Luke Becker was excellent versus Ipswich last Thursday. Best rider on the night, so gets my vote. He's had a good start to the season, actually, as Luke.
He has, yeah. I did wonder whether it was the right place for him to go.
Simon Corbett,
but he seems to be sort of, he's shown a good sign.
I think the Leicester track seems to be a bit better this season from all accounts.
Well, reading some of the updates from when Birmingham were there, a lot of people were saying it was the best meeting they'd seen at Leicester. So Leicester's obviously had a lot of criticism for not being a great racetrack over the years, has it?
Have we ever had a week where we've had so many different riders of the week?
Yeah, Simon Corbett's gone for Dan Thompson.
Connor, Ty, Dan, Luke, Darryl.
Lawrence has gone for Darryl Richins, but there's no favouritism there. Yeah. Danny King's another good.
Ron Racing, he's gone for Danny King. He's had a decent start, hasn't he? So
yes, good to say. I like him. He's one of the good guys.
Yeah.
Cooper Rushton for 20 points at NSS Good Friday, including a win over Cairns.
Kings, yeah.
Well, he's getting the vote at the moment. Then he's got 2.
He's got 2, yeah. Yeah, 2 so far.
Good shout for Ty. He's like a Terminator in more ways than one. But it's remarkable how he's walked out of hospital this week after all those injuries. So is that a vote for Ty?
We'll put that down as a vote.
Okay, because that's a tie now. It's a tie. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've got to say, it was a lovely photograph that Ty's put on social media today of him hugging his kids, which is fantastic. So, you know, and, I think that's the important thing, isn't it? Obviously, a good network of support around him, and he's going to need that. Obviously, he sort of looks to rehabilitate. Whether we'll see him back on a bike, only time will tell. But obviously, the most important thing is he gets himself fit first.
Absolutely. Chris Thorogood says, check out Heat 12 from last Thursday at Leicester on Ipswich socials. Great race and was a good meeting overall. Their track does look better. It needed to be.
Might get over to Leicester at some point this year, I think. So
it might be my local track soon.
Well, my local track as well. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, at least I won't have to change my colours.
Just have to have them the other way around. So that was another thing, really, with the Leicester Birmingham meetings. The colours are too similar, aren't they? Really, because
that's always a problem.
Leicester seem to be sort of going down the route of having yellow as the main colour, don't they? So,
yeah, I do like our suits, by the way. This year, I think they look really. You can see us coming.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there ever be a call for where away teams wear an away colour? Or is that
it's an expensive game,
right,
Kevlar.
okay.
It's not like buying a T-shirt, you know.
I'm sure Swindon did it several years ago. They had an away colour for when they rode teams like Bellevue.
Now I've said that. In my answer, there is an obvious solution to it, which is put a T-shirt over the top of the Kevlars in your away colours.
Yeah.
So that when needed.
Bibs are quite cheap to make, aren't they? I suppose.
Or better still, bring back the yellow and black helmet colour. It's too similar to the white one, especially this time of the year when it's getting dark. It's not the same without the yellow and black. You got
a little bit excited then.
Yeah, there you go. Sorted Speedway's problems out. Bring the yellow and black helmet.
Every week we sort the problems out.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's good.
Well, it's
been a good show. First show back. Good.
It's that time of the evening when we say bye. It's been great being back. I was really, really sorry. There are very good reasons for us missing the last month, I suppose. It's been in the end. But we are back and we will see you next week. Take care, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.
Good night.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today?